When it comes to football rivalries, it's not just about the game. It's a battle of passion, history, and pride. Hey everyone, welcome to It's Called Football, your go-to channel for everything football. Let's dive into the fiercest clashes on the field. When we talk about one of football's most intense rivalries, we can't overlook the North London derby between Arsenal and Tottenham Hotspur. The passionate rivalry that defines this clash isn't purely location-based, as you might think. Sure, both teams are from North London, but the true animosity that fuels this derby wasn't born on the pitch. It was born in the back rooms, driven by one man's ambition and the choices he made. And get this, that man didn't even play football. The story starts with Arsenal, who were originally known as Woolwich Arsenal, then Royal Arsenal, and later the Arsenal. Back in the late 1800s and early 1900s, Arsenal was far from the powerhouse we know today. They were based in southeast London in a neighbourhood called Plumstead, an area that wasn't exactly buzzing with football fever at the time. The competition was fierce, especially in the North and Midlands, where the wealth, skilled players and bigger clubs were concentrated. Arsenal's performances matched their location. They were floating around in the second division with attendance numbers under 10,000, pretty far from impressive. In contrast, just up the road, Tottenham Hotspur were pulling in crowds of nearly 50,000, drawing a much bigger fan base and capturing the footballing spotlight. But Arsenal's fortunes were about to change, and it was all thanks to a man named Sir Henry Norris. In 1910, Arsenal hit rock bottom. Their financial struggles led them to voluntary liquidation, meaning they were on the brink of collapse. But Norris, a businessman with big dreams, stepped in at the last moment to save the club. This man didn't just want to save Arsenal though, he wants to make them a force to be reckoned with. To do that, he knew Arsenal needs to be in a more prominent location, one that would attract more fans and sponsorship. He chose North London. Norris set his sights on a new central location in the area for Arsenal's first major stadium, Highbury. And here's where things get spicy. Highbury wasn't exactly far from White Hart Lane, the home of Tottenham Hotspur. In fact, it was just down the road. That was the moment when the two clubs' fates became intertwined. At this point, Tottenham didn't really care about Arsenal. They were rivals, sure, but the hatred hadn't yet formed. The rivalry as we know it hadn't truly been ignited, but that was all about to change. It wasn't until after World War I that things really started to heat up between Arsenal and Tottenham. The English Football League decided to expand from 20 teams to 22 teams, creating two new spots in the top tier. The question was, who would claim those spots? Here's where it gets a bit complicated, so bear with me. To decide which clubs would fill the new spots, the Football League referred to the last completed season before the war, the 1914-15 season. In that season, Chelsea finished 19th, Tottenham finished dead last in 20th place, and Arsenal was 6th in the second division. Chelsea, being in the top flight, kept their place in the first division, but when it came to the other spot, Arsenal had a decision to make. They wanted to take it. So in a move that shocked many, Arsenal, led by Norris, moved to the first division, even though Tottenham had finished ahead of them in the last full season before the war. Arsenal's rise from the second division to the top flight didn't sit well with Tottenham, and this is when the rivalry truly began to form. Spurs weren't just upset, they were furious. Tottenham fans saw Arsenal's promotion as unfair, and from that moment on, things between the two clubs were never the same. Arsenal had done what no one expected and snatched a place in the first division, much to the dismay of their North London neighbours. And from there, the North London derby was born. This rivalry has seen unforgettable matches, iconic moments, and countless clashes that have defined the history of both clubs. Every time Arsenal and Tottenham face off, it's more than just a game. It's a reminder of the origins of the rivalry, of a businessman's ambitious move that sparked a fire between two clubs, one that continues to burn brightly today. So the next time you watch the North London derby, remember, it's not just about the players on the pitch, it's about a story that began over a century ago in the offices and boardrooms of football, a rivalry forged by power, ambition, and of course, a little bit of backroom drama. When you think of football rivalries, there's one clash that always stands out in Germany. The fierce showdown between Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund, better known as der Clásico. This rivalry has become one of the most electrifying in world football, and it's not just about two clubs from Germany's top tier going head to head. It's about power, pride, and the fight for supremacy in a country where football isn't just a sport, it's a way of life. But exactly what makes the Clásico so intense? It's more than just the trophies, it's more than just the players, it's about the rich history, the contrasting styles of play, and the fierce battle for dominance in the Bundesliga. To understand why these two clubs are locked in such a heated rivalry, we have to go back a few decades. In the early years, the story of Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund's rivalry began to truly take shape in the 1970s. Before then, Bayern was already a dominant force in German football. They had the resources, the history, and a steady stream of talent flowing through their ranks. Meanwhile, Borussia Dortmund was making waves as a club with a passionate fan base and a reputation for resilience, but they weren't yet the powerhouse they would later become. However, things started to shift in the 1980s. Bayern Munich was dominating the Bundesliga, but Borussia Dortmund began to challenge their supremacy. Under the guidance of manager Ottmar Hitzfeld, Dortmund went on an incredible rise, culminating in the 1996-97 season when they won the UEFA Champions League, defeating Juventus in the final. That was the moment Dortmund showed they were no longer just Bayern's little brother, they were a club with big ambitions. As Bayern continued to rack up domestic titles, Borussia Dortmund's rise in the late 2000s and early 2010s was something to behold. With charismatic manager Jurgen Klopp at the helm, Dortmund became a team that could not only compete with Bayern Munich, but also beat them. Klopp's high-pressing, fast-paced style of play was a direct contrast to Bayern's efficient, possession-based football. Dortmund, with their youthful energy and flair, began to disrupt Bayern's dominance, and it didn't take long for the rivalry to hit full throttle. The 2010, 2011, and 2011-2012 seasons were particularly significant for Dortmund. They clinched back-to-back Bundesliga titles, and their fearless approach to facing Bayern Munich in big matches started to earn them respect and admiration. It was a new era in German football, one where Bayern Munich was no longer the undisputed king of the Bundesliga. Borussia Dortmund had become the biggest challenger, and the games between these two were packed with drama, emotion, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Fast forward to the present day, and the Clásico has become the ultimate clash of titans in German football. Bayern Munich, with their incredible financial power, have dominated domestically for years. Their roster is filled with world-class stars, and their ability to attract top talent is unrivaled. Borussia Dortmund, on the other hand, have built a team based on hard work, passion, and youth development. While Bayern may have the upper hand in terms of titles, Dortmund's commitment to a fast attacking style of football makes them a dangerous opponent, especially in front of their raucous yellow wall at Signal Iduna Park. When Bayern and Dortmund meet, it's more than just a football match, it's a clash of philosophies, a battle for the future of German football. Bayern may be the giants with the deeper pockets, but Dortmund's never say die attitude and loyal fan base make them a worthy adversary. Their encounters are not just about the final score, they're about pride, legacy, and proving who truly rules German football. Over the years, the Clásico has produced some unforgettable moments. From last-minute winners to high-octane, end-to-end football, this rivalry has seen it all. Bayern Munich may have had more success in recent years, but Dortmund's continued challenge keeps the rivalry alive and well. It's a competition that isn't just about trophies, it's about respect. So whether it's the history, the contrasting styles, or the way these two clubs constantly push each other to new heights, the Clásico will always remain one of the most thrilling rivalries in world football. When Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund go head-to-head, you can be sure that it's not just another match, it's a battle for dominance, a fight for the soul of German football, and with every encounter the stakes get higher and the passion gets fiercer. And that's what makes the Clásico so special. When it comes to football rivalries, few are as intense and deeply ingrained in history as the old firm derby between Celtic and Rangers. This isn't just a battle for points or trophies, it's a clash of culture, religion, politics, and identity that runs deep through the heart of Scottish football. The fierce rivalry between these two Glasgow giants has transcended the game itself as one of the most passionate and volatile encounters in the sport. But what makes the Old Firm derby so intense? It's not just about the clubs, it's about what they represent. The roots of the Old Firm derby stretch back over a century, but they began long before either club became the behemoths they are today. The rivalry is tied to the social, political, and religious divide in Glasgow and Scotland at large. At the heart of it is the deep-seated difference between the Protestant and Catholic communities, with Rangers historically representing the Protestant Unionist tradition and Celtic representing the Catholic Irish Catholic immigrant community and their roots in the working class. This divide wasn't just confined to the stands, it affected everyday life in Glasgow. The Old Firm became more than just a football match. It became a symbol of the sectarianism that plagued the city for generations. For years, the two club supporters embodied these divides when the stadiums became battlegrounds not just for football but for religious and political tension as well. Celtic was founded in 1887 by Brother Walfrid, a Catholic priest who aimed to raise funds for the Irish immigrant community in Glasgow. The club quickly became a symbol of hope and pride for the Catholic and Irish working class, gaining a massive following not just in Glasgow but across Scotland and Ireland. Rangers, on the other hand, were established earlier in 1872 and were seen as the club of the Protestant establishment. Over time, they became closely associated with the Unionist cause, representing a connection to Scotland's British identity. This rivalry wasn't born from competition on the pitch alone. It was the result of the differing identities each club represented. While the two clubs initially played in more regional fixtures, the rivalry took on greater significance when Celtic joined the Scottish Football League in 1890. Their first meeting in 1892 kicked off what would become a bitter, intense competition for dominance in Scottish football. Over the years, both clubs would win league titles, cup competitions, and European glory, but it was their encounters in the Old Firm derby that really captured the attention of fans. As the years went by, the rivalry between Celtic and Rangers escalated both on and off the pitch. The two clubs began to dominate Scottish football, and their encounters became more than just a local derby. They were a matter of national pride. Every fixture was charged with emotion, and the stakes couldn't have been higher. In the 1980s and 1990s, the Old Firm derby truly became the focal point of Scottish football. Rangers, under the leadership of Walter Smith and later the financial backing of businessman David Murray, became a dominant force, winning league titles almost every season. But Celtic wasn't far behind, and with the appointment of manager Martin O'Neill in the early 2000s, Celtic regained their position at the top, winning multiple league titles and trophies. These encounters were often more than just about football. They were a spectacle filled with passion, tension, and at times violence. The political and religious divisions that characterized the Old Firm derby meant that the match was as much about pride and identity as it was about footballing glory. Fast forward to today, the Old Firm derby is still one of the most heated rivalries in the world. Celtic and Rangers are more than just football clubs. They are institutions that represent the very soul of Glasgow and Scottish football. Despite years of financial troubles for both clubs and the changing landscape of the Scottish Premier League, the Old Firm remains as tense as ever. Their encounters are packed with drama, fierce competition, and high stakes. Whether it's a battle for the Scottish League title or the intense emotions of fans in the stands, Celtic versus Rangers is a football rivalry that shows no signs of slowing down. From the history of sectarian tension to the glory of European success, the Old Firm derby continues to capture the imagination of football fans around the world, making it one of the most iconic rivalries in the sport's history. So next time you hear about the Old Firm derby, know that it's more than just a football match. It's a reflection of Glasgow's past, present, and future, all wrapped up in 90 minutes of footballing chaos. When it comes to football rivalries, few are as intense, captivating, or globally significant as El Clásico, the legendary contest between two of the world's most prestigious football clubs, Real Madrid and FC Barcelona. This rivalry is far more than just a match for points. It's a passionate battle that symbolizes deep cultural, political, and regional divides, a clash that fans across the globe eagerly anticipate each time these two giants meet on the pitch. The first official El Clásico match took place on May the 13th, 1902, during the Copa de la Coronación, an early football competition held in Spain. Although it was a relatively small event in football history, it set the stage for what would become one of the greatest rivalries in sport Over time, as both clubs grew in stature, the significance of their encounters deepened. They began to represent far more than just their respective cities. They came to symbolize much larger societal conflicts. What makes this rivalry so unique is the cultural political weight it carries. While Real Madrid is based in the Spanish capital, Barcelona is rooted in Catalonia, a region with its own distinct language, culture, and identity. Over the years, Barcelona has been seen as the club of the Catalan people, a symbol of resistance and pride for a region that has long sought greater autonomy and in some cases full independence from Spain. In contrast, Real Madrid, particularly during the era of Francisco Franco's dictatorship in Spain, was viewed by many as the establishment club associated with the Spanish monarchy and the central government. Franco's regime, which ruled Spain from 1939 to 1975, was a period of intense repression of regional identities, and Catalonia in particular was targeted for its desire to preserve its culture and language. For many Catalans, supporting Barcelona became a form of defiance, a way to stand up for their rights and identity. This political backdrop has only added fuel to the fire of the El Clásico. When these two clubs meet, it's not just a battle for football supremacy, it's a representation of the larger struggle between Spanish nationalism and Catalan independence. The match is a stage for much more than sporting drama. It's a representation of deeply rooted cultural and political identities both on and off the field. Over the years, El Clásico has seen some of the most electrifying moments in football history. It's a stage where legends are made, where players rise to the occasion, where history is written with every goal, every pass, and every tackle. One of the most iconic figures in this rivalry is Alfredo Di Stefano, the Argentine-born legend who helped transform Real Madrid into a European powerhouse in the 1950s. Di Stefano's arrival in Real Madrid was a turning point for the club, and he played a major role in cementing Real Madrid's dominance on the European stage with a series of memorable victories over Barcelona. Then there's Johan Cruyff, the Dutch genius who brought a new era of success and a unique style of football to Barcelona in the 1970s and 1980s. Cruyff's influence on Barcelona was immeasurable, not just in terms of his playing ability, but in the philosophical shift he instilled at the club. Under Cruyff, Barcelona adopted a style of play that emphasized possession, technical brilliance, and a focus on youth development, principles that continue to define the club to this day. In more recent times, players like Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi have taken the rivalry to the new heights. Messi, the symbol of Barcelona's success for over a decade, has become the club's all-time top goal scorer and is often considered one of the greatest players to ever grace the game. His duels with Cristiano Ronaldo, who represented Real Madrid during the peak of his career, have added a new layer of intensity to the fixture. The two players became the faces of the rivalry in the 2010s, creating countless moments of magic and drama that fans will remember for generations. And who could not forget Zinedine Zidane and Ronaldinho, two of the giants of the game, whose moments of brilliance in El Clásico left indelible marks on the rivalry. Zidane's stunning volley in the 2002 UEFA Champions League final is often cited as one of the greatest goals in the competition's history, while Ronaldinho's performance at Santiago Bernabeu in 2005, when he scored twice and silenced the Madrid crowd, is one of the most iconic moments in the derby's history. As the rivalry has evolved, so too has the football on display. In the 21st century, El Clásico has become a global phenomenon. Attracting millions of viewers from around the world, both clubs have grown into massive global brands with financial power and commercial reach that extends far beyond Spain. The rivalry now represents not just the battle for domestic supremacy in La Liga, but a wider contest for global dominance in the world of football. Tactically, both teams have gone through phases of dominance and innovation. Real Madrid, with their history of Galacticos, have assembled some of the most star-studded teams in football history, from the early 2000s with players like Zidane, Ronaldo and Roberto Carlos, to the more recent team led by Karim Benzema, Luka Modric and Sergio Ramos. Real Madrid's approach has often been defined by a focus on powerful attacking play and individual brilliance, creating a team capable of delivering at the highest level, whether in La Liga or the Champions League. Barcelona, on the other hand, has maintained a style of football that focuses on possession, intricate passing, and youth development, largely influenced by the club's legendary academy La Masia. Players like Xavi, Iniesta, and Busquets have defined the Barcelona midfield over the years, playing a style of football known as tiki-taka. This approach, while at times criticised for its lack of direct attacking football, has yielded remarkable success, with Barcelona winning multiple La Liga titles and European trophies. Throughout the 2000s and 2010s, every El Clásico match comes with immense stakes, both in terms of the footballing action and the wider implications for both clubs. The rivalry isn't just about bragging rights for the fans, it's about legacy. The outcome of these matches often has a significant impact on the La Liga title race, as both teams frequently find themselves at the top of the table. In addition, the matchups are often crucial in the battle for the UEFA Champions League, with both clubs routinely vying for European glory. El Clásico is a chance for both clubs to prove themselves not just as the best in Spain, but as the best in Europe and even the world. For fans, these matches are a chance to see their teams assert its dominance. Whether it's at the Santiago Bernabéu in Madrid or the Camp Nou in Barcelona, the anticipation before each encounter is palpable, as supporters eagerly wait to see who will come out on top in this epic battle of footballing giants. In the end, El Clásico isn't just a football match, it's a spectacle, a war of words, a display of skill, passion and tradition. It's the culmination of years of history, culture and rivalry that transcends the sport itself. When Real Madrid faces Barcelona, it's not just about football, it's about identity, pride, and the legacy that has been built over more than a century. This is a rivalry that continues to captivate the hearts of millions of fans, and with each passing year, it only grows stronger, more intense, and more unforgettable. El Clásico is not just a match, it's a global event. A clash of titans where history is made and legends are born. The Northwest Derby between Liverpool and Manchester United is one of the most iconic and intense rivalries in world football. Spanning decades of fierce competition, this encounter is more than just a game. It's a battle for supremacy, pride, and history. The rivalry between these two clubs is one that embodies the fierce competition between two of England's most successful and storied football clubs, as well as the broader cultural, historical, and economic tension between the cities of Liverpool and Manchester. The roots of the Northwest Derby stretch back far before the inception of football in England. The rivalry could trace back to the industrial age, with both cities being major economic centres in the 19th century. Liverpool's prominence as a major port city and Manchester's rise as the heart of the Industrial Revolution in England set the stage for the competition that would later carry over to football. Liverpool's wealth was built on its port and trade, while Manchester became synonymous with textile manufacturing. This economic competition was intense, and it laid the foundation for the rivalry that would later be embodied on the football pitch. By the time the two clubs met on the field, the animosity between the cities had already been well established, particularly during periods of industrial expansion and the growth of the railway networks that connected the two cities. In this context, football became another way for both cities to assert dominance and pride. When it comes to success, Liverpool and Manchester United are two of the most decorated football clubs in the world. Between them, they have claimed a combined 39 league titles, 9 European Cups, and 19 FA Cups, creating a history of dominance that's been the backdrop to this fierce rivalry. While both clubs have had their periods of supremacy, the constant battle for the title of England's best club has been a driving force in their rivalry. For decades, Manchester United, particularly under the management of Sir Alex Ferguson, were a dominant force in English football, dominating the Premier League in the 1990s and 2000s. During this period, United's status as the premier club in England clashed with Liverpool's historic pedigree, making every match between the two sides a critical point in the race for domestic and European glory. Liverpool, on the other hand, had long been regarded as one of Europe's most successful clubs, particularly in the 1970s and 1980s, when they dominated English football, claiming numerous league titles and European Cup wins. Though their time at the top fluctuated, their history as one of the most storied clubs in football was never questioned. The matches between Liverpool and Manchester United have provided fans with some of the most dramatic and unforgettable moments in history. These encounters are often tightly contested with high levels of emotion and stakes, Here are some of the most iconic moments in the history of the Northwest Derby. The 1994 Anfield thriller was one of the most memorable matches in recent history. Occurred when Manchester United took a commanding 3-0 lead at Anfield. However, Liverpool mounted a spectacular comeback, pulling back to draw 3-3 in what became known as one of the most exciting games in the fixture's history. The resilience and passion shown by both sides made this game a true representation of the intensity of the rivalry. Manchester United's Wayne Rooney produced one of the most iconic goals in Premier League history, scoring a magnificent volley in the 2-1 win over Liverpool at Old Trafford. Rooney's goal became an instant classic. Liverpool's dominant 7-0 victory over Manchester United was a result that shocked the footballing world. Liverpool's dominant performance sent a clear message to their bitter rivals, and Salah's individual brilliance was one for the history books. This win was one of the most lopsided results in recent Northwest Derby history, and it added another unforgettable chapter to the rivalry. In March 2009, Liverpool faced Manchester United at Old Trafford in a thrilling Premier League clash. The match saw a dramatic turn of events, with Steven Gerrard scoring a crucial penalty in the first half to give Liverpool a 2-1 lead. Despite United's early advantage, Gerrard's calm finish on the spot, followed by goals from Fernando Torres and Andre De Sena, Liverpool scored a 4-1 victory. This win not only intensified the title race, but also added another legendary moment to the fierce rivalry, with Gerrard further cementing his status as one of Liverpool's all-time greats. The rivalry between Liverpool and Manchester United is not just about the players, it's about the fans. The passion of both sets of supporters is unmatched, and the atmosphere during these encounters is like any other in football. Both clubs have fan bases that are spread across the globe, with millions of supporters in every corner of the world. For the fans, these matches represent more than just football. They are a chance to assert their dominance, show their loyalty, and prove who is the best. The songs, chants, and banners on both sides reflect the deep emotions that are tied to this rivalry. At Anfield, Liverpool belt out "You'll Never Walk Alone," while at Old Trafford, United's "Glory, Glory, Man United" rings out through the stadium. When these two sets of supporters clash, the atmosphere is electric and the passion is undeniable. The Northwest Derby is not only the most anticipated fixture in English football, it is a global phenomenon. Millions of fans from all over the world tune in to watch Liverpool and Manchester United go head-to-head, regardless of the competition. Whether it's a Premier League clash, an FA Cup tie, or a European encounter, the stakes are always high, and the match is guaranteed to attract worldwide attention. The rivalry between these two clubs has grown beyond the UK and has become one of the most recognised football rivalries in the world. The global reach of the Northwest Derby speaks to the widespread appeal of these two iconic clubs and the unmatched intensity of these encounters. While both clubs have had their respective highs and lows, the rivalry between Liverpool and Manchester United shows no sign of slowing down. The Northwest Derby is more than just a football match. It's a clash of identities, cultures and histories, a battle that represents the fierce competition between two of England's greatest footballing cities. Every time these two clubs face off, it's a spectacle that captivates millions and leaves a lasting mark on the history of football. As long as football is played, the Northwest Derby will continue to ignite passions, fuel rivalries, and provide unforgettable moments.